Hey guys, this is a market recap for July 23rd, 2026. Um, to start with kind of the big things, if we're looking at, a lot of people were anticipating the reaction to Google earnings and Tesla earnings, particularly Google. Right, this has been market leader for a while now. Saw a pretty nasty rejection or nasty reaction to earnings here. Um, I don't really know what to think about it. I'll be honest, I'm not super bearish in the mag stocks. If we kind of look at the ETF here, uh, to me, this kind of looks like a reasonable higher low. Obviously, could be wrong. Tesla, I have no idea what to think about this stock. I just kind of avoid looking at it entirely. I think it's just a sight for sore eyes. Um, Meta looks uh, pretty constructive in my opinion. Um, right, it's kind of got this zone here it's been trading in. Right, naturally kind of gaps down with Google and Tesla. Fair enough. Nvidia really didn't have much of a reaction at all. No surprise there though. Right, this is really just a semi name at this point. Although there's certainly some relationship there. Apple still looks really good in my opinion. Um, I think I think the determining I think the mags are going to be, my consensus on the mag stocks will be sealed once Apple, Microsoft, and Meta have their earnings released. Because, in my opinion, I think Microsoft is a pretty, you know, some could argue this is a pretty oversold name. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. But if we see uh, a negative reaction on a leader like Google, I honestly wouldn't be that surprised if we saw a rotation into a stock like Microsoft with maybe a gap down and a bounce, or maybe a gap up. I don't know. Um, but Apple, right? This has been doing well and showing huge relative strength to the market, right? That might have to do with the AI trade losing its momentum, and AI, or Apple has kind of been lagging in the AI trade. So now that AI is kind of um, the idea is sort of failing from a trading standpoint, at least in the very short term. Um, Money is kind of rotating into Apple, which is kind of funny. Um, Amazon, of course, big gap down. I don't know, but really, I don't feel overly bearish on the mag stocks. To me, this is just a big signal of more chop to come. I think this could just be another higher low and then more sideways. Um, and if we look at the SPY, right, or the QQQ, to me, this is all trading very, very similar to kind of what we saw back in November, December. And I've been thinking that pretty much since around the 10th. Like it just looks really similar. I mean, we kind of get like a sort of VCP, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. Oh, it looks like we're going to break out. No, we don't. And we just kind of don't necessarily fail. We just kind of don't do anything. Like we just kind of go sideways, chop under the moving averages as we saw around this area. And this is like near identical. Like if we look at this low here, equal lows here, low here, equal lows here, I could very well see us just pushing back up to, 712 and then just chopping around, maybe bear flagging and doing a very similar thing to here. I don't believe this is the start of some bear market or anything. I just think this is just a correction and a choppy one at that, which is fine, whatever. Um, Notable sectors today, uh, to me, aerospace stuck out. Right, if we look at the ITA, really nice day, huge day back over the moving averages. If we look at UFO, this thing is, I don't know what to think about this. But if we look at a stock like Raytheon, right? really clean breakout. I wasn't really watching this, and um, but we had a nice morning washout and a reclaim. That could have been a good entry if you were bullish on aerospace names. Um, but really nice day there. Lockheed Martin had nice earnings reactions. Um, a stock like Rocket Lab. Um, this is interesting. Is this a higher low? Right on an oversold bounce or an oversold decline? Do we get a bounce here? I certainly think it's possible. And if we kind of zoom out on Rocket Lab, like it's sort of repeated a similar trend in the past. Um, you know, you get a push and you get a huge decline, you get a push and a huge sell off, push and a huge sell off. It's like, do we consolidate around here and then go again? I don't know what to think about this stock, honestly, but there's certainly a short term trade somewhere living around in here, in my opinion. Um, do I think we're going to go to all time highs anytime soon? No way. But I certainly think we could even, eventually push up and get a retest of like $100 or something and just kind of build out a base in this area. Um, or we just keep selling off. I have no idea. But I think this today was interesting for a stock like Rocket Lab. Semis, still kind of just, chopping around fine. Not really much to do here, although I think this is a good time to be tracking relative strength of the semi names. Um, right, NVIDIA has been doing pretty well. AMD looks really, really good. Um, ASML looks really, really good. I think if we could get over kind of this 128 level, get over the 21st highs. Um, I mean, sure, I certainly think that this is a reasonable trade to take. I won't be trading this. I'm not I'm not bullish, particularly on tech stocks right now. But if the market really started to show some strength, um, that could change my mind, and maybe I would take this. But right now, this is just something to track. Um, but looks clean nonetheless. Um, a little bit disappointed with the trucking names today. The IYT had a pretty nasty rejection, right? To me, like I don't think the trade is gone. I certainly don't, but I do think that this is a signal of short-term chop. Like, right, it's been trending nicely here, against the 20-day, and it still is, but I don't like this rejection creating this lower low here. I certainly think that we're going to break down and and I don't know, do whatever. But pretty disappointed in this. I have a fresh position on FedEx. I bought into the close on the 20th, um, with a stop at the 17th lows. Or sorry, the 9th lows. What was I reading there? Um, but it's a, it put in an inside day today, but it's still, when I look at the IYT and I look at a stock like HubG, like I'm just not sold, right? I'm kind of, uh, you know, very short term bearish on this, but I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. I'm in this stock. I'd like to see it push higher. I just have my stop at break even at this point. Not a big deal if it fails, but I'd like to see it work. Um, but trucking names have been doing well for a little bit. There was a nice day in reaction to the JP Hunt earnings. This thing has kind of gone sideways for a little bit. We're holding this range reasonably well. Now, if we can push over, 794, 795 tomorrow, yeah, if we can get over 795 tomorrow, that could totally change my mind on, um, you know, the IYT trade. But I've seen charts like this before, and my uh, my thinking is that we get maybe some short term chop below the 20, and then maybe reclaim and go again. But right now, I think it's just kind of in a weird area. Healthcare, nice day today. If we look at the XLV, really nice, really clean day today. Actually, this could have been, if you're interested in trading this could have been a good entry. Um, Uh, the problem with the healthcare stocks, in my opinion, is this was hard to trade, right? Because although this is technically a good setup, over this level, over yesterday's highs. I mean, by the time it's over that level, you're already, you know, $35, which is, one exits ATR from low of day. It's like you're losing your edge buying a trade like that because your risk to reward is just scuffed. Um, so, but it's a good day nonetheless. Looks really good to me. To me, all the healthcare names look really solid. Again, I just don't see really a whole lot of buying opportunities in any of them, and I really haven't seen any since the trend started. Um, I think a stock like AbbVie looks pretty good. If we can form a higher low off like this 248 level, form a nice flag, that could be nice. Um, but again, I just don't see much in the healthcare as far as clean tight entries for my strategy, of course. Um, I think biotechs looked really good today. If we look at the IPB, I think this is a very clean consolidation, or reasonably clean. Um, I think if we could get over 190, I think it looks pretty solid, honestly. Um, Trading individual biotech names is not really something that I ever do because I just don't track the news. I don't feel like paying for um, you know, the subscriptions that you need to in order to, get accurate information on, like FDA approvals and, results and stuff. So I just don't really bother with biotechs. They're a little weird for me. But yeah, I think, IBV looks better than the XBI, but you know, they're holding up well. Um, I think overall, um, oh, oil. Before I get into that, I think oil has been, obviously been on the tear recently. Um, but it's definitely, in my opinion, is the strongest sector in the market. I haven't heard very many traders say that, uh, but right now, that's just what I've been seeing. Um, this is a clean chart on eco, right? If we can, frankly, if it gets over, this level, it could be a good entry. I'm not buying it. I'm already have my oil exposure, but there's several oil charts that have their bases intact. And I think FRO had a really good entry on the 17th at the close. But if we look at a stock like Dino or HF Sinclair, which is what I'm currently in, I mean, look at this. Like you're not seeing this clean of price action. I mean, anywhere else in the market. At least that's my personal opinion. Um, I'm just not really seeing it. You're getting just pretty straight up trends in a lot of these stocks. And then, if you're in something like KMI, which has been really choppy because I actually thought this looked pretty good on the 16th. I mean, it's just been horrible. Like, but that's beside the point. I mean, just don't trade this. I think oil in general looks pretty good. Um, but I mean, that's about it. I think some of the you know I guess you could call them I wouldn't even call them crypto at this point, like data storage type of names. Um, they perked up a little bit the last few days. Hut by far holding up the best, um, which is interesting. I'm curious to see what this does because if we look at all the other ones, they just don't look good. If we look at oops, if we look at a Riot, oh, I take my my words back. Riot happens to look uh, not as good as Hut, but it looks pretty good. This could have actually been a reasonably good short opportunity, especially when you look at a stock like Iron rejecting the EMAs, um, or a stock like Wolf doing a similar thing, rejecting the 10, although it's sort of holding up. I think there's an opportunity there if you're paying attention. Not really my um, cup of tea. I'm not really just too keen on shorting anything right now because to me this doesn't look like a shortable. I don't feel like we're in a particularly shortable market. I think if you're watching the SMH and you were watching the semis, there could have been entries to short on some of the big movers, but in general, like I think we're in a choppy period. I don't think we're in, if you're shorting into supply, I think that's a reasonable thesis. But I don't think like today, for example, this isn't a day I would get short. I think yesterday could have been a good day to get short, but this day is not a good day to get short. It's like every day you think the market is going to go up, it's going to go down. And if you think it's going to go down, it's going to go up. Like that's just kind of the market that we're in. And you know, it is what it is. But these are if you're buying, if you're shorting right now, like as long as you're content with 1 to 3 day long trades, then go ahead, like that's your thing. But for me, like I don't see really much to short right now. And as far as longs, I also don't see anything to to long either. I think there's very, very little that looks good beyond AMD and oops, AMD and what was it? Uh, ASML. I think those look the best, and I still wouldn't even trade them right now. That's just me though. I just want to see like a big green day in the market. I want to be back over the moving averages before I really would look to buy any of the tech stocks, especially since we're seeing them just continue to chop around and sell off. So I think it's important to track the relative strength, but I just don't see any trades there right now. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean, there's literally nothing, in my opinion, to be buying besides maybe a couple things in the healthcare and a couple things in oil. Um, Again, stock like FRO looks pretty good. Getting over, 39.25, I think looks reasonable. But again, I have my oil exposure, not really a sector I like to concentrate much in. Um, But yeah, I mean, XL. Oh yeah, I'll talk about the XLF real quick. Looks really good in my opinion, from an ETF standpoint. I'm in one of the regionals, First Financial. I've been in it since the ninth. Um, I'm fully trimmed on it. Was hoping for a better earnings reaction than what we got. Pretty tragic there. And a lot of the regionals are kind of not doing the best, but they're getting bought up. We'll see what happens with them. But the XLF looks like it put in a decent higher low today. If we lose this though, then I get reasonably bearish, short-term bearish. But yeah, that's about it for the market. Um, Big things today were just Google and Tesla earnings, in my opinion, which obviously were terribly reacted to. But again, still not bearish on the mags, still not bearish on the market. I think, if anything, this was a reasonable buying opportunity for a stock like Google. I don't like that we closed under the 200, but um, you know, it is what it is. We'll see what Microsoft, Meta, and Apple, how they react to their earnings, or how traders react to their earnings. But until then, we will see. Um, but thank you for watching. That's all I have.